The cold night air bit at Anna's skin as she stood frozen on the front porch, her trembling hand clutching the phone. A text blinked on the screen. "Your sister's car is in his driveway. Again." Her chest tightened, heart pounding like a war drum. She stepped off the porch, her boots crunching over the frosted gravel. Just hours earlier, Ethan had kissed her goodbye with the same lips he now used to lie. A dull ache throbbed behind her eyes. Her mind raced. Could this really be true? As she reached Ethan's house, the sight pierced her like a blade. Her sister's red SUV parked neatly by the curb. Inside, the warm glow of the living room light spilled onto the lawn. She crept to the window. Through the glass she saw laughter, wine glasses, and the unmistakable intimacy in how Ethan touched her sister's arm. Her breath caught. "No," Anna whispered, stepping back into the dark. The betrayal was real, and it had a face she never imagined. Her own blood. Anna sat in her car, parked a block away from Ethan's house, staring blankly at the steering wheel. Her mind whirled with questions she didn't want answered. Why her? Why my sister? Her hands shook as she reached for the glove compartment, pulling out an old photo of the three of them. Her, Ethan, and Claire died. Taken just last summer. All smiles and sunshine. Lies hiding in plain sight. She touched the photo with trembling fingers, tracing the curve of Ethan's smile. Had it always been fake? Was every laugh rehearsed? Every hug a distraction? The tears finally came, hot and unstoppable, soaking the photo. Her sobs echoed in the silence of the car. "I loved you," she choked out. "I trusted both of you." But trust, she now knew, was the easiest thing to break, and the hardest to rebuild. Her world wasn't cracked, it was shattered. Claire's laughter still echoed in Anna's ears. She remembered their childhood, matching dresses, secrets whispered under blankets, fighting over toys and makeup. How had they ended up here? Betrayal by a stranger hurts. Betrayal by blood destroys. Anna clenched her jaw, the memory of Claire's arm brushing against Ethan's in that cozy living room burning into her mind. She couldn't stop replaying it. The softness in his voice, the way he looked at her sister, it wasn't new. It was practiced. Comfortable. Long-standing. How long has this been happening? Anna asked herself aloud. Months? Years? And why had she never seen it? Was she blind? Or had she just refused to see the cracks because love made her feel safe? The foundation of her life now felt like quicksand. Every memory, a lie in disguise. The next morning brought no clarity. Only a dull ache behind Anna's eyes. She hadn't slept. Coffee steamed untouched on the counter as she sat motionless in her kitchen, the hum of the fridge the only sound in the room. Her phone buzzed again. "Ethan. We need to talk." The message glared at her like a wound. What was left to say? She stood, pacing in circles, rage and sorrow fighting for dominance. She considered blocking him, ignoring him. But curiosity, and maybe a sliver of foolish hope, clung to her spine. She tapped the message open. No apology. No confession. Just a request. "He wants control," she muttered. The betrayal wasn't enough. Now he wanted her silence. Her compliance. But Anna wasn't the same girl who trusted blindly. Not anymore. Anna finally left the house. She needed air, movement, anything to keep from screaming. She wandered aimlessly through the city park, hands deep in her coat pockets, eyes fixed on the ground. Children played nearby, their laughter distant and haunting. Couples held hands on benches, oblivious to the storm inside her. She stopped by the lake, its surface still and glassy, like nothing had ever gone wrong in the world. But she knew better. Behind her reflection in the water stood a woman no longer naive, no longer safe. She whispered to herself, "This is where the story changes." Her jaw set, her spine straightened. She would not crumble. Not for Ethan. Not for Claire. Not for anyone. The betrayal had written a new beginning, and she would decide the ending. Anna sat at her dining table, scattered photo albums and journals spread before her like puzzle pieces of a life she no longer recognized. Each photo was a betrayal in disguise. Ethan's arm around her waist, Claire's knowing smile beside them. The evidence had always been there, she just hadn't wanted to see it. She flipped through old journal entries, searching for signs. Missed calls, vague explanations, weekends when Claire had been too busy and Ethan had been working late. The lies had been synchronized. She found one entry. Claire insisted I wear red tonight. Said Ethan loves that color. Anna froze. That night, she remembered, Ethan hadn't taken his eyes off Claire during dinner. She had laughed it off. Now it felt sinister. Her stomach twisted. The truth hadn't just begun last night. It had been blooming in silence for months, maybe years. She needed answers. Not speculation. Not clues. Cold, unshakable truth. Against her better judgment, Anna drove to Claire's apartment. She didn't knock. She pounded. When Claire opened the door, makeup half done, her expression fell into a guilty freeze. You, Anna said through clenched teeth. And Ethan, how long? Claire glanced away, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. It's not what you think, she murmured. Don't lie to me, Anna snapped. I saw you, last night. The silence between them screamed. Claire's shoulders slumped. We didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. He was there for me when you went. Anna stepped back like she'd been struck. You blame me? Her voice cracked. Claire didn't answer. She didn't have to. In that moment, Anna saw not a sister, but a stranger wrapped in excuses. Driving home, Anna gripped the steering wheel so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Claire's words echoed in her mind. He was there for me when you weren't. What did that even mean? Was she to blame for this? Had she missed something? Grown distant? She hated the self-doubt creeping in, the subtle suggestion that her pain was somehow deserved. She pulled over on a quiet street, tears streaking her cheeks. She wasn't perfect, no one was. But she had been loyal, loving, devoted. If Ethan needed something more, he should have walked away, not stepped into her sister's arms. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a message from an unknown number. You don't know the whole story. Ask Ethan about October 3rd. Her heart skipped. October 3rd, the date of their anniversary dinner. What happened that night? October 3rd. She remembered every detail, or thought she did. Ethan had been late. Said his meeting ran over. She waited 2 hours at the restaurant, dressed in the red dress Claire picked out. When he finally arrived, he looked exhausted, distracted. He kissed her cheek instead of her lips. Let's just eat, he said with a sigh. Now, with new eyes, she replayed the night. Was he with Claire? The thought made her stomach churn. She opened her calendar app and scrolled back. Found a picture she'd taken that night. Her waiting at the candlelit table, a full glass of wine untouched. In the background, barely noticeable, a reflection in the restaurant mirror. A man. Ethan? Holding someone's hand. She zoomed in. It was blurry. But the shape of the woman's coat, it was Claire's. She dropped the phone. Anna stood outside the restaurant the next day, staring at its sign like it held answers. She needed confirmation. Closure. She walked in and approached the hostess. Do you remember who was sitting at table 12 last month, October 3rd? The hostess blinked, confused. That's oddly specific. She checked the reservation log. You had a booking, but the gentleman didn't show until much later. Anna nodded. Anyone else with him? The hostess hesitated. He wasn't alone. I think he came in with a woman. She wore a long beige coat, dark hair. They were holding hands. Anna's breath hitched. Are you sure? The hostess nodded. Pretty sure. I even joked they looked like honeymooners. The words sliced through her. Not only had Ethan been there, with Claire, but he'd chosen to bring her to the same place, meant to celebrate their love. Anna waited outside Ethan's apartment, the note about October 3rd still folded in her coat pocket like a knife she wasn't ready to use. When he finally opened the door, his eyes widened. "Anna," he started, but she held up a hand. "Don't speak. Just answer one question." He hesitated. She locked eyes with him. "Where were you on October 3rd? His mouth opened, closed. He blinked. "You know." It wasn't a question. She stared at him, every second of silence between them heavier than the last. "Why her, Ethan?" she asked. "Why my sister?" He ran a hand through his hair. "Because she listened. Because she didn't expect me to be perfect. Because I was tired of pretending with you." Her heart cracked. "Pretending?" she whispered. "Was I just a role you played?" He looked away. "I didn't want this to happen. But you let it." Her voice was calm. Broken, but calm. Inside, Ethan sat slouched on the edge of the couch, hands clasped between his knees. Anna stood across from him, arms folded, spine rigid. "You two lied to me for how long?" she asked. 6 months. He looked up. "A year," he admitted. Her breath caught. "A year," she repeated, letting the weight of it settle. "While I was planning a life with you, you were planning weekends with her." He winced. "It wasn't like that." "Then explain it," she snapped. "Explain how you looked me in the eye every day and said you loved me." Ethan's voice softened. "I did love you, Anna. I still do." She laughed bitterly. "You don't cheat on someone you love. That's not how love works." He leaned forward. "I made mistakes, but it was never supposed to go this far." She shook her head. "But it did. And you let it." Anna walked toward the bookshelf, fingers brushing past the framed photos that still decorated Ethan's apartment. One showed them on a mountain hike, arms raised in triumph, a frozen smile on his face. Another, from her last birthday, captured Claire lighting candles while Ethan whispered something into her ear. That one she picked up. "This," she said, holding it up, "is the moment I missed it, the way you looked at her." Ethan stood. "I didn't mean to fall in love with her," he said. "It just happened." "No," Anna snapped. "You made 100 little choices until this became your reality. Don't act like it was fate." She threw the frame on the couch. "And what about her? Did she just fall into your arms?" He didn't answer. "I hope it was worth it," she whispered. "Because now you've lost us both." Anna didn't cry as she left the apartment. Not this time. Her chest felt hollow, but her steps were sure. Outside, the city buzzed like it always had, oblivious to the wars raging inside people's hearts. She sat at a nearby bus stop, the plastic bench cold through her coat. An older woman sat beside her, humming softly, knitting something bright and red. "Road day?" the woman asked without looking up. Anna gave a short laugh. "The roughest." The woman nodded, as if she'd heard the same story 1,000 times. "Pain makes strong women," she said. "Stronger than they ever asked to be." Anna stared at her, silent. "And when it feels like you've lost everything," the woman continued, "that's when you start to rebuild." The bus approached, its lights cutting through the dusk. Anna stood. She wasn't healed, but she was still standing. Back home, Anna stood in her bedroom and stared at her reflection. The same auburn hair, same hazel eyes, but something had shifted. Her gaze was sharper, her stance firmer. She opened her closet and began packing a suitcase. Not out of weakness, but resolve. This home, this space, they belonged to a woman who didn't see the betrayal coming. Now, she needed space to rediscover who she was without Ethan, without Claire. She picked up a photo of her childhood self from the nightstand, a girl with scraped knees, crooked smile, and eyes full of fire. "I'm still her," Anna whispered. She zipped the suitcase shut. In that sound, something closed. Not just a bag, but a chapter. She didn't know what came next, but she'd write it on her own terms. Anna arrived at her parents' house unannounced. The familiar creak of the porch steps beneath her feet brought no comfort. Her mother opened the door, surprise quickly replaced by concern. "What's wrong?" she asked. Anna hesitated. "Is Claire here?" Her mother's eyes darkened. "She left an hour ago." Inside, Anna sat on the couch she once curled up on as a child. "Mom," she whispered, "did you know?" Her mother froze, then sat beside her. "I suspected, but I didn't want to believe it." Anna's heart sank. "Why didn't you say something?" Her mother looked down. "Because love makes us blind, and silence feels safer than shattering your world." Anna exhaled slowly. "It's already shattered." Her mother took her hand. "Then maybe now, you can rebuild it with truth." For the first time in days, Anna felt something close to clarity. Anna wandered into the attic later that night, needing space to think. Dust motes danced in the flashlight beam as she rummaged through old boxes. She found a sealed envelope addressed to Claire, "Not to open until you're ready." Curious, she opened it. Inside was a letter in Ethan's handwriting. "Claire, I know what we're doing is wrong, but I can't stop. She's distant now. Like she doesn't even see me anymore. But you make me feel alive." Anna's chest tightened. So he had been pouring lies into both of them. She flipped the letter over. "Tell her if you want. I'll deny it. She'll believe me." Rage pulsed through her veins. This wasn't just betrayal. It was manipulation. Gaslighting. He hadn't just cheated, he had orchestrated it. Protected himself. Used her trust as a shield. That night, Anna didn't sleep. At sunrise, Anna drove to the coast where she and Ethan had once spent their first anniversary. The waves rolled in soft rhythm as she walked along the shoreline, wind tangling her hair. She held the letter in her pocket like a poison she planned to release. Standing by a jagged rock, she reread his words, letting the pain rise and crest with the tide. Then, slowly, deliberately, she tore the letter into pieces and let them fly into the ocean. Each scrap carried a memory she no longer wished to keep. "This is not my burden anymore," she said aloud, voice steady. The wind took her words, and the sea took her sorrow. She turned away from the waves, a weight lifting from her shoulders. This wasn't closure, but it was the beginning of it. Back in town, Anna received a message from Claire. "Can we talk?" She hesitated, then replied, "1 hour. Public place." They met at a quiet botanical garden. Claire arrived late, eyes swollen, hands stuffed in her coat pockets. "I read the letter," Anna began. Claire looked away. "He made me feel needed, like I mattered." "So you slept with your sister's boyfriend?" Anna snapped. Claire winced. "I was weak. I was jealous. You always had it together." He said you never really saw him. Anna's voice dropped. "And you believed that gave you permission?" Claire's eyes filled. "No, but I wanted to believe it wasn't all my fault." Anna sighed. "He used us both." They stood in silence among the winter roses. Forgiveness didn't come, but understanding, some jagged form of it, did. Later that evening, Anna visited the local gallery where Ethan's photography exhibit was being held. She moved silently through the halls, pausing in front of a large black and white portrait. Her, smiling, unaware, taken during a picnic Ethan had planned. The caption read, "Muse." Her stomach turned. She scanned the room. Ethan stood by the far wall, surrounded by admirers. He noticed her, surprise flickering across his face. She walked up calmly, met his gaze, and said, "This ends here." He opened his mouth, but she raised a hand. "Don't speak. You don't get that power anymore." She stepped closer. "Your lies are your burden now, not mine." She turned and walked out, heels echoing like a gavel in the silent gallery. Power wasn't loud. It was clarity in motion. Anna returned to her apartment, now stripped of Ethan's belongings. The silence felt different, no longer empty, but clean. She moved slowly, wiping surfaces, folding blankets, lighting a candle. Her hands needed to do something. Her mind needed peace. In her bedroom, she opened her laptop and created a new folder. Maine, again. Inside, she began writing. Not to Ethan, not to Claire, just to herself. Letters, thoughts, fragments of memory. She wrote without censoring. Raw. Messy. Real. Wow. She cried while typing, but this time, the tears came from release, not despair. These weren't the pages of a victim. They were the beginning of a survivor's voice. A woman reclaiming her narrative. And though the hurt was far from gone, the healing had begun, word by word. Anna sat across from her therapist in a sunlit office filled with books and plants. I keep wondering what I did wrong, she said. The therapist leaned forward. When someone chooses to betray you, that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their values. Anna nodded slowly. But it's hard not to feel less. The therapist offered a gentle smile. You were enough. His failure to see that doesn't change it. Anna blinked back tears. I'm tired of holding it all in, then let it out, the therapist said. Scream, cry, create, speak, but don't stay silent just to make others comfortable. Anna looked out the window. The sun was bright today. Unapologetic. Maybe it was time she was too. Later that week, Anna volunteered at a local women's shelter. She helped sort donations, her hands steady, her purpose clear. A younger girl with bruised arms and hollow eyes approached her. Do you think people can really heal? She asked. Anna looked at her for a long moment. Yes, she said quietly. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to keep going, even with the scars. The girl nodded, tears welling. Anna handed her a blanket. You don't have to be strong every minute. Just the next one. In helping others, Anna felt a part of herself slowly return. Stronger, clearer, more grounded. She didn't need to erase the past to move forward. She just needed to carry it differently. That night, Anna took out her old Polaroid camera, the one Ethan gave her years ago. She stared at it, then aimed it at the mirror. Click. The photo slid out. She set it down and took another. And another. Smiling. Crying. Serious. Silly. Come. She wasn't trying to capture perfection. She was reclaiming the lens. Every image was a truth she chose. She taped them to the wall, a collage of her becoming. A timeline not defined by pain, but by resilience. Under the final photo, she wrote in bold black marker, "Still here." It wasn't defiance. It was a declaration. Her reflection stared back, not as someone who was betrayed, but someone who survived betrayal and still dared to love herself anyway. The next morning, Anna took a train out of the city. No final destination, just forward. She sat by the window, watching towns blur by, her journal open on her lap. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Can we talk? She stared at it, fingers hovering. Then she locked the screen. No reply. Not today. Not anymore. Outside, the sun rose fully, casting golden light across the fields. She smiled. Not because everything was okay, but because she had chosen herself. At last, the train sped ahead, and with every mile she shed the weight of someone else's story. Ahead lay something unwritten. Not perfect. Not painless. But hers. Weeks had passed. The pain no longer screamed, it simmered, dull and quiet. Anna returned home one evening to find an envelope on her doorstep. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. You never knew the full story. Ask your father about Ethan. Her heart thudded. Confused, unsettled, she dialed her father. Dad, did you know Ethan before I met him? A long pause. We worked together, he said. Briefly. Anna felt the ground shift beneath her. Why didn't you ever tell me? Another pause. Because I asked him to stay away from you. I didn't trust him. Silence filled the line. And then you introduced us, she whispered. It was already too late. Her father sighed. I didn't know he'd betray you, but I knew he was a man who wanted control more than connection. Anna closed her eyes. A new layer of betrayal, older and deeper, had just surfaced. Anna sat across from her father in the quiet booth of an old diner, coffee steaming between them. Why didn't you ever say anything? She asked. Her father, a man of few words, looked down at his hands. You seemed happy, he said. And I thought, maybe I was wrong. Anna shook her head. But you weren't. He manipulated me. And Claire. He finally looked up. I should have protected you. I just hoped he'd changed. He didn't, she said. He just got better at pretending. Her father reached into his coat and pulled out a file folder. He was under investigation once, corporate fraud. It never stuck, but I saw what he was capable of. Anna flipped through the documents, emails, signed forms, HR complaints. It wasn't just emotional betrayal. Ethan had a history of deception. Calculated, strategic, cruel. Determined. She looked up. I wasn't crazy, she whispered. No, her father said. You were targeted. Later that night, Anna sat on her living room floor, the file folder open beside her. Ethan's polished image was crumbling. Beneath it, a web of lies. She thought about how he spoke to her, always gently condescending, always planting seeds of self-doubt. You overthink too much. Why are you being dramatic? The gaslighting had been deliberate. A slow erosion of her confidence. And Claire, she had been a pawn too. Anna wasn't the only one played. But she was done being played. She stood up, gathered the documents, and began organizing them. If Ethan had harmed others, she would make sure someone knew. Not out of revenge, but justice. He didn't deserve to keep walking away. She looked at the last page, an old email with a subject line. Raya. She would no longer be a footnote in his games. The next morning, Anna walked into a legal aid center. I'd like to speak to someone about a potential whistleblower case, she said. The receptionist raised an eyebrow but nodded. She was ushered into a private office. Inside, a young lawyer scanned the folder she presented. This is serious, he said. These patterns match others we've seen. Anna sat still, her hands folded tightly. He's charismatic, but behind closed doors he tears people apart. The lawyer looked up. Would you be willing to make a formal statement? Anna's chest tightened. Fear pulsed behind her ribs. But then she thought of the girl at the shelter. Of Claire. Of herself. Yes, she said. If I stay silent, he'll do this to someone else. The lawyer nodded. Then let's begin. She wasn't just reclaiming her voice. She was turning it into armor. That night, Anna stood alone on her rooftop. City lights stretched like stars beneath her. The wind tousled her hair as she exhaled into the sky. She was still standing. And this time she wasn't shaking. She pulled out her phone, opened a blank note and wrote, I was broken, but not destroyed. Betrayed, but not erased. I was never too much. I was just too real for the wrong people. She stared at the words, then smiled. She saved it. No posts. No declarations. Just a reminder for herself. As the night deepened, she closed her eyes and let the cold wind carry away the final remnants of doubt. Healing wasn't linear. But this moment, this stillness, was victory. Not loud. Not grand. But hers. A month later, Anna received a letter, official, stamped. The investigation had begun. Ethan's company had been flagged for multiple ethical violations, thanks in part to her statement. She read the letter quietly, a strange calm settling in. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt resolved. This wasn't vengeance. It was accountability. She set the envelope down and looked around her apartment. New art on the walls. A rug she picked. A home that felt like hers again. Her phone buzzed. Claire. View. One word. Thank you. Anna stared at it, unsure how to reply. In the end, she simply put the phone down. Some chapters didn't need a sequel. Some wounds didn't need reopening. Closure wasn't always an answer. It was sometimes just silence, chosen with purpose. Anna returned to the lake, the same park from the night she whispered, "This is where the story changes." The air was warmer now, spring brushing the wind with promise. Children's laughter rang nearby, this time no longer haunting. She sat on the same bench and closed her eyes. The pain, though faint, still lingered, but it no longer defined her. She had survived lies, manipulation, betrayal. She had faced truth and chosen herself. She reached into her bag and pulled out a worn photograph, her and Claire as kids. She stared at it, and for the first time, she didn't feel fury. She felt distance, like looking at an old version of herself. A version who hadn't yet learned what boundaries meant. Anna smiled softly. She folded the photo and tucked it away, a relic of a past she no longer needed to carry. In a quiet coffee shop, Anna met with a publisher. "Your essays carry weight," the woman said. "They're raw, insightful. We'd love to compile them." Anna blinked. "Seriously?" The woman nodded. "Stories like yours matter. Women will see themselves in your voice." Anna hesitated. For so long, her story had felt too broken, too painful to share. But maybe pain could build bridges. Maybe truth, when spoken aloud, could become survival maps for others. She nodded. "Okay, let's do it." The woman smiled. "What will you call it?" Anna didn't even need to think. Nay. Again. The same title she gave that folder the night she started writing. Well, this wasn't about Ethan anymore. It was about every woman learning to stand again, even after being shattered. On launch day, Anna stood before a small crowd in a community bookstore. Her book in hand. Pages filled with vulnerability, rage, truth, and healing. She took the podium, heart pounding. "This isn't a story about heartbreak," she began. "It's a story about remembering who I was before I learned to question my worth." Applause echoed gently. Faces watched her, some tearful, some smiling. "I thought I needed their love to be whole. But all I ever needed," she said, voice steady, "was my own." As she closed her speech, she locked eyes with a young woman in the back, clutching a copy of the book to her chest. That was who she wrote it for. Not for justice. Not for closure. But for the girls still trying to leave the wrong story behind. That night, back in her apartment, Anna stood before her bedroom mirror, no makeup, hair loose, wearing an old oversized sweater. She stared into her reflection not to check for flaws, but to meet the woman who had come through the fire. She smiled. It was quiet. Not performative. Just truth. Her journal sat open on the nightstand. She walked over, picked up a pen, and wrote a final line beneath the last entry. "This is not the end. This is the beginning." Then she closed the cover and turned off the light. As the room settled into darkness, the hum of life outside her window played like a new song. One she wasn't afraid to dance to anymore. One that she, finally, got to write.